Welcome to the channel. This is Oblivion. We're here with the April refines that just came out. The update took forever to come out for some reason, so it's kind of late at night. Let's go ahead and jump right in and start off with Bantu. So we have Bantu with Wizened Breath, and essentially this weapon has +4 to all stats. Then it has a weird effect where it's kind of like a Seal Speed 4 almost, but for all stats, but it doesn't have the guard effect. So essentially what this will do is inflict up to -6 to all stats on the foe, but if they have a penalty already, it will subtract that first. So if you have like -7 already to attack, it won't be -13, it will still just stay at -7. Then after that, he also has an Omni Smoke, so he has attack, speed, defense, and res smoke, but it's at -6 instead of -7, and then he's a dragon adaptive damage. Then when we jump over to his refine, and then he has if foe initiates combat or the foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75%, he gets another +4 to all stats, and then follow-up denial. In my opinion, is not good at all. And the reason for that is essentially Bantu is going to be a stat ball, but not a very good one. And the reason for this is very simple, right? He gets +8 to all stats, which is pretty decent. And then he gets follow-up denial, which is decent on him. I find the penalty part of his weapon really underwhelming. And the reason for that is if they already have debuffs, you really don't get anything out of it. It's not like with like Seal Speed 4 or Seal Attack 4, where you get like guard as well. So at least you're getting something out of it. This only like really can give you up to -6 to all stats, and only if they can't neutralize their own penalties as well. So there's like a lot of downsides to it. Now, he can be kind of just a big stat ball and kind of just try to act as like a tanky dragon. I think there's just better options for that in the meta right now. And I honestly think you're just better off using like the Arcane Grima weapon than this, like if you want to build it with Bantu. It's just completely underwhelming and really disappointing considering how long we waited for Bantu's refine. Okay, let's move on to Conrad with Mass Lands. If the unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants +4 to all stats, and inflicts a penalty on foes' attack, defense, and res during combat, equals 20% of the unit's resistance at start of combat. What that means essentially is that it's going to be the visible resistance stat when you start combat. So it doesn't like count all your like skill buffs or like in combat buffs. So it's just going to be the visible one. So typically at max, it's going to be like about 45, which is about -9 attack, defense, and res, which is pretty solid. Then we have at start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, we get another +4 to all stats. And then lastly, if unit's res is greater than foe's res, we get Dragon Walls. We actually get up to 40% damage reduction based off Conrad's res versus the opponent's res. Now, how good of a refine is this really? I think this is actually better than what I expected. I did not expect much from Conrad, to be honest. Slow defensive calves are just not very powerful in the meta. They really haven't been in a very, very long time. So I think this is cool. It makes him a bit more unique, and he can kind of just be a super bulky cav, considering you get Dragon Wall for free in your weapon, so you can run something like Quick Riposte 4 in your B slot to get some more damage reduction and also get that guaranteed follow-up attack. Even so, though, like I said, defensive calves just aren't very powerful, so I don't think this is going to make Conrad like meta by any means. I don't think it's going to even make him like very threatening, but if you do heavily invest into Conrad, he could be a fun unit to use as like a kind of a mixed phase tank. So overall, I think this refine is actually better than I thought it was going to be, but still it's not very good in my opinion, right? It's just not enough to make Conrad, who is not a very good unit to begin with, like amazing, right? I think it's going to make him usable, but only with a lot of support and like in very limited game modes. Okay, let's move on to one of the stars of this refined batch, Duo Alfonse. And oh my gosh, I am so excited for Duo Alfonse. This is probably one of the refines I've been waiting for the longest, because Duo Alfonse is such a fun and unique unit even now, and this refine really gives him a ton of power and makes him a lot better. So let's jump right into it. So we have special cooldown -1, we have at start of combat if special is ready, you get +5 to all stats, just like before. You also get foe cannot make a follow-up attack, and then this is the new thing, and reduces damage from foes' attacks by 20% of units' defense, excluding AoEs during combat. So what this is 20% flat damage reduction based off Alfonse's defense, right? This is like Asker or like Brave Dimitri. This is really, really good. It's going to make Duo Alfonse way tankier, way more difficult to kill, and if you can actually get that follow-up denial to stick, it's going to be really difficult to kill him because he's going to hit back with his preference special, which is going to do a ton of damage and also heal him up. But that's not even all. Let's move on to the actual refine itself. If unit is within 3 spaces of an ally, you get another +4 all stats during combat, you inflict guard on the opponent, reduce the effects of deep wounds on unit by 50% during combat, and also when special triggers, unit deals damage equal to 15% of unit's defense. So essentially what you're getting here is +4 to all stats, you're inflicting guard on the opponent, which is really nice, and then you're reducing the effect of deep wounds. And the reason why this matters is because Alfonse's preference special, Open the Future, actually heals him, so this is going to allow him to get past that if you do run into Fatal Smoke. And then also you get 15% true damage based off Alfonse's defense whenever your special triggers, which is really, really strong because Alfonse actually has a very nice defense stat. So you're going to be able to hit really hard with that Open the Future, do a ton of damage because of that additional true damage, and also heal a ton. Now, I'm going to be honest, I think that the deep wounds effect on this weapon is kind of not necessary. Fatal Smoke isn't nearly as popular as it once was. I mean, it's okay, but I wish they would have given him something different. Maybe like a tempo effect could have been cool. I wish they could have given him something different, to be honest, but even so, this is a very, very solid refine, way better than I thought he would actually get. And it kind of transforms him into like a mini duo Asker in a sense, when you think about his duo skill that can charge up specials for infantry units. I actually do think this refine is powerful enough to push Alfonse back into the meta in some situations. He's not going to be like meta dominant or anything like that. I don't expect him to take the place of duo Asker, because duo Asker is more universal, that he can reduce the cooldown of all units, not just infantry. But even so, I think Duo Alfonse is going to be really, really good now. He's going to be able to hit way harder. He's going to be way tankier. And he's also going to be able to offer that cool duo support as well. So honestly, this is a fantastic refine for Duo Alfonse. Very, very happy for him. And very happy for all the Duo Alfonse fans out there, because you really did get a nice refine here. Okay, let's move on to the other winner of this refine batch, Edelgard. And you knew this was going to happen. There was no way they were going to do Edelgard dirty. They love her way too much. And so they took a unit who honestly was pretty underwhelming in most situations, and made her very powerful and unique in some senses, right? Kind of more similar to other Edelgards, but even so, let's jump into it. So we have Accelerate Special Cooldown -1 at start of combat if her HP is greater than or equal to 25%, or the number of foes within 2 spaces of unit, excluding the unit she's fighting, is greater than the number of allies within 2 spaces of unit, not including herself. She has +4 to all stats and guaranteed fall protect. So that is a mouthful. I don't know why they made the condition so difficult. I feel like they could have just removed that old condition, made it much easier. Maybe just make it if she's solo or something like that. Either way, she's just going to get +4 to all stats and guaranteed fall protect. Not much to write home here. But let's move on to Refine, because this is where it really gets spicy. So if Edelgard initiates combat, or if she's solo, she gets another +4 to all stats during combat. She gets 10% true damage based off her own attack, and that does work with AoEs, which is really cool. But here's the really awesome part. If unit initiates combat and she is not adjacent to any ally after combat, grants another action to unit. That's right, they gave Edelgard Raging Storm. So once again, we have another Edelgard with Raging Storm, meaning that we have another top tier Gale Force unit to add to the meta, and oh man, is she going to be scary. Now, I do want to be clear, I don't think she's going to be better than like Summer Edelgard as a Gale Force unit. She just has so many things going for her, including that Brave Open that's really, really powerful. But this Edelgard is going to be really strong. That 10% true damage is going to allow her to get through and kill some more enemies, but more importantly, she is an infantry unit. Being an infantry unit is a very big deal because it means you can run things like Times Pulse, which means you can really lower that cooldown and make it much easier to activate your own Gale Force to get that third action after the free one from Raging Storm. I do expect to see this Edelgard on a lot of Gale Force teams now. She's just going to be a fantastic job. You are going to want her to typically be the initiating unit because she does have to be solo to get that Gale Force from the Raging Storm effect, but even so, there are ways around it, I guess. You could like use hit and run to bounce her back so she's not near anyone, but then you can't use Wings of Mercy, so it's kind of iffy if you could like play around with it and figure it out. Either way, I do think she's going to be a top tier Gale Forcer. I do kind of wish that they would have went a little bit different with her weapon, and instead of giving her like 10% true damage, they would have given her like special acceleration. It would have been even easier to activate that Gale Force. But either way, she's going to be like a very powerful, very strong unit, and Gale Force teams are definitely going to be the best place to use her. She's just going to be really, really strong there. Okay, let's move on to the final unit of the banner, SIlque. So we have Staff of Lilies, calculates damage like other weapons, so we have Wrathful Staff. After combat, if she attacked, she resets the special cooldown of target and foes within 2 spaces of target, and inflicts guard on target. At start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, she gets +4 to all stats. And then her Refine is if she initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, she gets another +4 to all stats. And also, after combat, if she attacked, she inflicts attack and speed -6 on target and foes within 2 spaces of target through their next actions. And then she has a nice drive effect where she grants defense and res +6 to allies within 2 spaces, and after combat, they restore 7 HP. Okay, so this is actually a pretty cool refine. I don't think it's like anything insane. They essentially took the Melancholy weapon that she came with that is inheritable and then kind of upgraded it, right? So it still has the Melancholy effect, but they got Wrathful Staff, which is nice. She has +8 to all stats, which really does help her a ton to get some more extra damage in and also be really more bulky. Then she has like a weird like attack and speed smoke kind of thing going on here, which isn't amazing in my opinion, but it's kind of whatever. I think the thing that really makes SIlque stand out though is the very last part of her refine, which is the massive drive effect, right? Getting defense and res +6 to all allies within 2 spaces is really, really strong. Like that's really powerful because you have to consider that she also has like her C skill open and her Seal skill open, so you could get even more defense and res there if you want to. And then she also gets some nice healing where she can like heal 7 HP to all her allies after combat. Essentially what they did is kind of made SIlque into like one of the best Roker Sieges unit, right? Because you can kind of go in, you can give a whole bunch of stats to your allies, and then you can also debuff the enemy and heal everybody up. You can keep that HP nice and high. I think this refine is cool. It kind of gives Silque a nice niche and a niche game mode in itself. But I do think that it's not like enough to make her like meta relevant or even make her like a top tier support in any means. It's cool, but I wish they would have went a little bit farther. I kind of wish they would have given her the saline effect where it restores 7 HP to allies after their combat. So that way she could act as a really cool drive while also allowing them to heal themselves for every combat. I think that would have been a cooler way to go with it and make her a little bit more unique. Though it would have kind of stepped on Saline's toes, so maybe that's why they didn't do that. Okay, let's move on to the final part of the video, who won the Refine War for April. Now, I think this is kind of obvious, but up in S, we have Edelgard and duo Alfonse. I think by far they got the best refines out of this batch. Both of the refines are really strong, and depending on what kind of player you are, I can see either one being more valuable. If you're a big Gale Forcer, obviously Edelgard's going to be your go-to. She's going to be really amazing there, and as an infantry, she's really going to be able to lower that cooldown on Gale Force, making it really easy to proc and making her much more reliable. While duo Alfonse is going to be a really cool bulky mage who can offer some very powerful support. Honestly, a fantastic refine for him as well. Then we have to go all the way down to C tier, unfortunately, and that's where I'm going to have SIlque next. SIlque does have that cool niche of being able to grant a nice defensive res +6 with the drives, and also being very powerful in Rogue where she can shut off those specials and heal up the allies. But honestly, it's just not enough to make her like really meta viable in any way. After that, we have Conrad, and once again, Conrad defensive calves. It is a cool refine. It's better than what I thought he would have gotten, but it's just not enough to make him meta relevant in any way. And I also don't think it makes him good enough to stand out in any game mode either. And then lastly, we have Bantu all the way in D. I think this refine is just garbage. I don't think it's very good at all. I just think you're better off running Arcane Grima. Okay, and with that, that is going to be all of the refines for April. I would love to hear all your guys' thoughts down in the comment section. Personally, I do love duo Alfonse and Edelgard a lot. I think these are great refines. I wish that the other three got a bit more love, made them a bit more unique, but I mean, what can you do? Not everyone gets to win the Refine Wars, right? Once again, I'd like to thank all my members for all their support, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. This has been Oblivion. I'll catch you all later.